Ron?
There we go. Howdy, gents. How y'all?
How's it going?
Damn, should I get a quick pump and put a tank top on?
What I thought said.
I can do it.
I just got back from the gym. It's good timing, good timing.
I actually don't work out at all. Yeah, he doesn't at all. He just pins tests and just sits on his ass. I do.
It's all right. It fucking happens. I thought about taking the shirt off. Fuck it.
Aaron, last time I was with you, you were sweating bucket. Actually, not last time, but on that car ride, it was 27 degrees out. You were sweating buckets still. Are you pre-contest?
I am. We're both 7 weeks out, and I'm ready to get it fucking over with.
Let me introduce ourselves real quick. So this is Ryan. Ryan, let's hear your credentials real quick. Sure. I've got a bachelor's in chemical engineering and math from the UK. Graduated top honors. I got 1B in college with 200 credits, and then I went to Notre Dame. I got a master's in bioengineering, specializing in heart tissue growth, growing, reproducing a heart on a 3D microfluidic chip. I also did biodetection, so detecting DNAs, RNAs, whatever in the bloodstream, and I took medicinal chemistry, and I did pretty darn well in that class too. My specialization has always been neuropharmacology, so what can you do to the nervous system, what can it recover from, and what substances are ideal for performance. Gotcha. So he's the yin, I'm the yang. I'm a Hamish Lindsay. I'm currently a chemistry major at the University of Kentucky. I'm in my second year of study, but I have my primary knowledge in the forefront of fitness from my own experience in it, as well as that I'm a board certified CPHT, both with the state of Kentucky and PTCB, which is a national certification board for pharmacy technicians. In other words, I made anything, if you go to a hospital, anything that goes into you, either intravenous or so forth, I either served that to the unit or compounded that in a clean room. Aside from that, I've had a profound interest in biohacking and neuropharmacology since the early era of high school.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Jordan Bertram, new Elysium athlete. Been bodybuilding for 2 years. Prior to that, just regular exercise and everything. Training in the military. I have my CPT through NASM, so a bit of knowledge about training and nutrition. And very deep hobby of mine is studying pharmacology, just for the sake of trying to learn as much as I can. Nowhere near the level of knowledge that you guys have, obviously, but I like to familiarize myself with different compounds, different things that affect the body as well, just trying to see, I guess, in the sake of biohacking, how far I can push my own limits, performance-wise, mentally, physically, what have you. So,
And of course, I'm Aaron. I'm owner and creator of Elysium Ethereal Labs. And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the ingredient panel on Elysium, but we really want to get a scientific understanding and dive into what it's really actually doing. So if you guys want to take over and discuss this, I'd love to hear what y'all have to say.
All right, sweet. So me and Ryan were talking about, so I haven't actually taken the pre-workout myself. I was going to this morning, but I had a ghost before that. Completely forgot that Aaron had given me a sample of pre. I will be taking it promptly tomorrow before I work out. But analyzing the ingredients list, this is a very stim-heavy pre, something that I wouldn't recommend to like newcomers to the gym. But if you're someone who really like loves stimulants, like me, for example, I've always loved I really love the DMHA pre's, and then the now banned, but formerly amazing DMA breeds of pre. But apart from the heavy stimulant profile, it does actually have a bit of a nootropic performance aspect with a heavy dose of choline bitartrate. If any of you know that choline bitartrate, or the important aspect of that, choline is an important precursor to acetylcholine, which most people in their diets, unless you're like primarily carnivore, or you supplement it, you're not going to get enough choline in your diet. So a lot of people suffer some struggles in their day-to-day life with that, but most people who are either bodybuilders who are going to take this pre are just going to notice a slight nootropic benefit from that. Aside from that, again, good stim profile, 450 mgs of caffeine, I believe it was, and then you got 100 mgs of theobromine, which theobromine, that's like the caffeine cousin in cocoa, but it's not enough to get that vasodilator effect from it, but it gets it that little stim boost. And then we have the good ingredients that were in the original formula that have now been added back into it. Not the isopropyl octopamine. Yeah, octopamine.
Yeah, octopamine is a very interesting molecule. I would love to experiment with it myself pretty soon. It's an adrenaline analog, so it's going to hit your adrenaline receptors and allow you to have a bit more push in the gym. It's definitely going to give you a bit more drive and focus. You're going to be locked in. And then it'll also have a cascade effect through the nervous system where it'll allow your muscles to fire more optimally and more in concert. So for the higher intensity workouts, you're going to be able to push quite a bit harder in that aspect. I would also like to follow up on the choline part, especially for bodybuilders who might be undergoing liver stress. Choline was determined to be an essential nutrient in the 90s because there were comatose patients didn't have choline, all of them went into liver failure. You add choline back in the diet, boom, the liver's looking in tip-top shape. Additionally, acetylcholine is one of the biggest movers of focus inside the brain, centrally to the nervous system, and then also distally at the part where the neuron interfaces with the muscle, the neurotransmitter that sends the contract signal from the neuron to the muscle is acetylcholine. So if you're deficient in choline, you are not giving it all in the gym, and you need to be adding that into your program.
And also from the perspective of like, this isn't, I would highly recommend taking some type of like pump pants, or even like a gram of salt with a bunch of water would be something really good to add to this, with like maybe some like fruit or high potassium meal before.
Yeah, and to add on to that, the reason there's probably not salt in this formulation is if you added enough salt to make it performance enhancing, it would taste like dog crap. It would just taste so bad. So do that on your own dime, on your own time. Just a liter of water, slam a gram or two of salt with that. Again, assuming that your blood pressure is relatively well managed. One thing about the blood pressure, though, is you don't have to worry as much because it has 2 grams of L-citrulline. L-citrulline is a way to get arginine into the blood. So if you eat arginine, it's actually not orally bioavailable. The only way to really get it in orally is to consume citrulline, which you absorb better. It then makes it into your blood and starts going, turning into arginine and activating the eNOS pathway, which is the pathway by which nitric oxide is released inside the vasculature, so your blood vessels, and that will allow for your blood vessels to dilate or open up. That's great. That means you're going to get more nutrients, more blood, more sugar to your muscles at the time when you absolutely need it. And also, it's been proven to reduce soreness after the gym because it helps clear lactic acid through that same mechanism. And as you're getting more blood flow to the muscle during workout, it will persist slightly post-workout, which when you get your post-workout meal in, or hopefully you got enough protein in your pre-workout meal, the amino acids are going to be more able to perfuse and enter the muscle tissue and begin the muscle building process.
Speaking of that NO process, you have a good dose of agmatine in there. But again, as I said before, I would recommend taking it like an electrolyte blend or either some type of like I like taking, even if I have a pre that has like a good dose of citrulline in there, because that's typically what pre's use as the primary NO agonist. I do take a pump capsule enhancer, which mine currently has agmatine, grapeseed extract, which is 98% polyphenol extracted. I can't remember exactly what kind of polyphenol it is. That has the agmatine dosage. It's dosed around 500 mg per capsule. And then it also has S7 and a nootropic in there with the famous mushroom blend, chaga, reishi, cordyceps, and lion's mane. But as far as pre-workouts go, I think what's really essential in something is hitting that main focus factor. And a lot of pre's kind of lack in that, where they actually should be, because I think if you're going to make a pre-workout, the thing that you should get right is the focus part. And this pre-workout really gets the focus part right. If you're someone who's very new to high stim blend pre-workouts, I would definitely take this by half scoop at most, and then work your way up to a full scoop. But if you're someone who's used to let's say brands like Defiant or something like that has a DMHA containing ingredient, then this should be something that would be pretty, not mellow, but it would be something that you'll like.
Yeah, like if I was running a power hypertrophy split on my power days, I would definitely be pushing this pre-workout to the higher doses so that I could get that maximal push for 1 rep maxes or for strength work. And then on the other days, I would personally probably be doing a half scoop, but maybe that's just I'm a little bitch. I don't know.
As far as the other ingredients go, I did notice like there's a multitude of like you had the octopamine, which is the main norepinephrine analog, or the main norepinephrine analog, but you also had isopropanol norepinephrine, which is another one of those synthetic epinephrine analogs, which I think a lot of people like they kind of run out of ideas for like, hey, let's do a stimulant blend, and then you got caffeine, and then you have tyrosine, and then we ran out of ideas. And I think that when you get into those, especially when you hit those adrenal glands, you get kind of a focus that is more, it's more blended in. It's very, very locked in as opposed to that kind of euphoric blend that a lot of pre's try to hit, with, especially with like caffeine L-theanine blends and the more nootropic heavy ones. So yeah, I do really like the kind of adrenal enhancing complex that it has onto it, because it's a really smart way to not overdo the stim, but enhance the stimulant complex.
And I think it would also serve very well in a pre-contest where you are starting to diet down, you're starting to get more fatigue, the appetite's creeping up. I would say that as you approach contest, dosing this more and more consistently will allow you to reap the benefits of this pre-workout. Additionally, it contains about 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, and that is something that you need to have dosed relatively high. Beta-alanine is combined with the amino acid histidine, which then makes carnosine. Long story short, is what allows you to get the aerobic benefits from it and reduces the lactic acid buildup. So you need to have beta-alanine dosed relatively high, and you need to take it relatively consistently. Personally, I would probably take at least a couple of days off this pre-workout, but again, that's probably just my nervous system telling me to back off, and I've never really gotten any big. I'm 6 feet tall, 180, so perhaps I'm not pushing it as much as I should.
This is something that I would not recommend doing like every day. I don't recommend doing any pre-workout every day. However, I don't take my own advice a lot of the time. I do take pre-workout every day. But if you are someone who's trying to like use this pre-workout in the future, I would definitely consider running it like on maybe have a this is your stim pre, and then a non-stim pre. You can take it one day on, one day off. Preferably, if you want to reap the maximum benefits of it, you're going to take it one day on, 3 days off, and then take it the next day. You're going to do it consecutively.
But no one will follow that.
But no one's going to do that. Let's be honest.
Additionally, I would watch out for, you can't combine it with other stim pre-workouts. It's got everything you need stim-wise in there, and just be mindful. It's already at the tippy top limit for the caffeine dose according to the FDA. Now, personally, I have gone through many, many pots of coffee in a single day and not died of a heart attack, what they do in grad school. So, but I would recommend against mixing it with like a Ghost or a Monster or something to that effect. It's got everything you need stim-wise right there.
Also, if you are going to have your morning coffee, I would recommend working out way later in the day. Actually, I wouldn't even recommend working out way later in the day because of the stim complex. I'd recommend skipping your morning coffee and having this instead, and just going working out in the morning.
Do you have any other particular questions?
No, man, you all covered it really, really great. You're right. This has the opportunity to burn that adrenal system to where you're not going to feel another pre-workout if you don't take a break. And, something that I'm noticing on this formulation is half a scoop, and I'm a high stim guy. And, even the euphoric feeling as I listened to my music at the gym this morning, I was kind of getting cold chills and everything was feeling good. And half a scoop, I'm telling you, is all you need of this.
Yeah.
So,
and I think,
sorry.
You go ahead, Jordan.
I was just going to comment and then a couple of questions for you guys that you can take in any kind of order. I feel like the formula itself, from everything that I've tried in the past, like you guys said, it's very stim heavy, it's very nootropic heavy. I think it's a safe statement to make that this product is more designed towards a high performance athlete, whether be somebody who's a bodybuilder trying to be competitive or a powerlifter. Excuse me. Just because really, if you are a high performance athlete, you're covering the majority of the bases. You're going to have adequate water intake, electrolyte intake, nutrition, partitioning. You're going to get enough of all of your amino acids. Like you said, we need to get an efficacious amount of arginine along with, the L-citrulline to actually make the nitric oxide. So we have all that covered. And a lot of these ingredients are things that I get like we will just not get unless you want to have like bottles and bottles of each individual ingredient, and you could do that, but there's really no need. I was gonna ask you guys if you can kind of go over some of the ingredients that work synergistically. I mean, a lot of people know that caffeine and theobromine go together pretty well. Theobromine kind of, from my experience, takes the edge off of a crash of caffeine because it's longer lasting. But also the question I had is, there are, like you said, the epinephrine and the beta agonists in the pre-workout themselves, and we have caffeine. And anybody who's bodybuild for or been in the realm of bodybuilding for probably the past 10 or 15 years has heard of a product called ECA, ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin as a fat burner. This to me, I mean, obviously I've taken other fat burners as well, as like clenbuterol, for example, which is a beta 2 agonist as well. And again, from my experience, if I dose yohimbine high enough, it has an effect similar to clenbuterol because I believe it's also a beta 2 agonist.
Its primary mechanism is an alpha 2 adrenergic antagonist. So it's definitely a weird one, but it definitely feels very shaky beta adrenergic.
Also, I'm going to put on top of this, I've taken Yohimbe orally, and I hate Yohimbe orally. Yohimbe topically, I've heard, though, mitigates all of the crap. I get a big, like, I get really hot, and it makes me just feel, like, terrible.
You go hypo on it?
Yes, I do. But, like, that happens on pre's, so, like, I can like, placebo effect myself enough into being like,
So, I guess the question, again, just, like, which compounds in the formula work synergistically? And also, would you recommend taking a certain dose daily of like aspirin or whenever you take this to add into like the fat burning effect that it could have?
I wouldn't recommend aspirin per se, just because, again, you have a lot of one, you have the appetite suppression effect from, like you said before, with the synergistic effects of each compound. Like I would say, like the caffeine, choline, plus the L-tyrosine and theobromine create a good dopaminergic complex that is enough to like suppress the appetite for someone who's cutting, or even like if you are someone who's on a bulk and you're willing, like I've bulked before, and even when taking high stim pre's, I still can kind of not force feed myself. I don't want to say that, but I can get through the appetite suppressant aspect of it. But then you have, of course, you have like the N-isopropyl norepinephrine, and then you have the Yohimbe and the octopamine, which are the kind of more adrenergic agonist complex that kind of add to that dopaminergic effect, but as well as that, it kind of adds a very dialed in focus aspect. So those are two groups of compounds that tie into each other, but both simultaneously act on different parts of the brain. But they both tie into that simple focus aspect. Fat burning, that's all the Yohimbe, caffeine, and then I would say the theobromine would do it because it would also raise joint temperature.
Yeah. So the isopropyl norepinephrine, I'm sorry for my mispronunciation there, the phenyl dimethylamine, those molecules are going to activate nervous stimulation and give you a greater push in the gym at the neural level. And then yohimbine is going to back that in, because yohimbine is a weak MAOI, so it's a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So any dopamine that is ended up released by these in the brain, or epinephrine or norepinephrine, the decay of those chemicals is going to be slowed in the brain, which is going to allow you to maintain that throughout the workout, where normally it's going to come in your system and then quickly fade out. The yohimbine is going to allow that to actually kick for a little bit longer. And as Hamish was saying, yohimbine is also going to very strongly contribute to the fat burning. It's going to raise your basal metabolic rate. And also, for those of us who struggle with fat in hard to reduce places, yohimbine actually opens up this alpha-sensitive adrenergic fat cells, and those are the ones that are going to be tend to found on your belly, on your lower back, on your hammies, the areas that are generally going to be the last to give up fat. The earlier you add yohimbine, the earlier you can start peeling off fat from these, because the majority of cells have a primarily beta lock, essentially, to opening up these adipocytes to get them to release fat. But for some reason, there's regions of our body that have more of the alpha site, and yohimbine is going to selectively hit those sites. So it's not targeted fat burning per se, but the reverse is true, where the rest of your body is targeted for beta. Yohimbine is going to hit those remaining spots that you typically have trouble losing fat in. And then huperzine A is going to work very well with the choline, as it is going to delay the destruction of choline. It inhibits the acetylcholinesterase in the brain. And then one more thing on aspirin. I would always advise against using aspirin or ibuprofen or Tylenol when possible. Aspirin has a slight chance of causing gastric distress and causing, I believe, ulceration in the stomach lining. And due to that, I would recommend against it, because when you're trying to be careful with your diet and make sure that you don't have any issue hitting your meals, it could cause you to have a medical intervention. And then in general, I try to avoid any of the COX inhibitors, I believe is what that entire series is, as that is part of the inflammatory cascade actually utilized in muscle to promote muscle growth and synthesis, protein synthesis. And by delaying the inflammation, reducing the inflammation, you might actually end up not reaping the full benefits that you could from a highly stimulating workout. So I would personally advise against aspirin. Now, if a doctor tells you their word supersedes mine to all extents and purposes, but I would try to keep it away from the pain relievers, as that will also change your ability to detect pain within a workout, for example.
Also, aspirin, it is a blood thinner, and for certain people on certain compounds, that can be a dangerous combination. But it is theoretically, I understand what you're saying, but the risk to reward is just too much. I would just advise against that at all costs.
And I say everything that you have here definitely supersedes and would perform way better than a traditional ECA stack. Yeah, the only thing comparable would be like ECY stack. But then you run into danger territory where you combine ephedrine with yohimbine, you could actually end up in a runaway where you end up with too much dopamine in the brain, and it ends up feeling a bit like a way too heavy stimulant.
And then I was also going to say, because there's two compounds, because Ryan was talking about metabolism of dopamine. Caffeine, a lot of people get this wrong. Caffeine, people think that it's something that just increases dopamine in the brain like a lot. It really doesn't. It kind of just increases the way it's metabolized and keeps it around longer. It minorly increases the amount of dopamine in the brain, but really it just stops the metabolism of adenosine, which is the main neurotransmitter that causes tiredness. It builds up through the day, so it stops that. And then as well as that, it makes dopamine stay around in that neural synapse longer. And then there's two other compounds that I was going to say on here, like the N-acetyl-L-tyrosine, which tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine. And the more that you have that pre-workout, the more dopamine you can utilize as that reward system during the workout, so it feels better. So you're not like, why am I doing this while you're here, especially if you're on a cut and you're fasting, or you're not, you're severely calorically deprived. Something that has a high dose of tyrosine is really good for not feeling like shit during a workout. And I think why this blend would be really good for someone who is on a cut or is pre-contest. The only thing is, if your heart is maybe sensitive, or you get anxiety easily, maybe stay away. But aside from that, it has that good energy aspect to it, where it's very heavy on the stem side, and it's also very heavy on the nootropic side. So you're not going to crash from this at all, because it's a very long, all the ingredients are meant for it to be in your system throughout the day, especially for the people who are using this, who are high performance athletes generally.
Gotcha. Guys, I hate to say, but it looks like unless we purchase Zoom, we have about 10 minutes. So just want to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you guys. That's a different perspective than my customers have ever heard. And that's what we were looking for. Something else that we're offering right now is, I can do some private labeling for pre-workout aminos, just about any supplement besides protein yet that is coming. Now, these guys will offer formulations for a little bit of a fee. And, just to throw that out there, if you want your own line, and if you want a formula from a scientific view, we've got you covered, and if you want something that nobody else is doing that's the most effective, come to us. We will help you.
And I was just going to put in as one last thing, knowing Aaron, I know he sells good products and he cares about his customers. I've known him for a good bit now, and he's always been good to me, and I've seen him be very good to his customer base, and I've been very happy to know him up to this point. So just a little add in there.
And one thing that I'm really happy to see is not having creatine in your pre-workout, because personally, I feel like creatine should be taken away from the workout. I think you should have a daily driver that you take that covers a few of those compounds, one of them being creatine. I feel like personally it ends up a little bit gastric distress sometimes, especially when you combine it with the stimulants. And the worst thing you want going into a heavy squat session or heavy deadlift session is gastric discomfort. I think you should take creatine every day, but I don't necessarily want to see it in my pre-workout.
Right.
Absolutely.
Never add recovery supplements to pre-workout things. Keep your vitamins and your creatine and all your stuff that needs to be taken over time out of the gym, and keep it at home.
I think going forward too, I think this isn't a one-time thing. I think we should dive into, other supplements and just really give these viewers, an in-depth perspective, and that way they know what they're putting in their body and how it's responding, effects, long-term effects, and such.
Excellent. Yeah. And I would love to talk about, keeping people healthy as much as possible. So the post-show recovery, how to do, at the end of a mesocycle, how you can resensitize yourself to dopaminergic stimulants after you've gone on, not to say a binge or a bender, but a pre-contest.
Someone who's been in the world of pharmacology in a retail space and in an actual hospital setting, I do really feel like the average person doesn't know enough about their own health. They don't know enough about their own diet. They don't know enough about what they're taking. They don't know what they're eating. So, and even a lot of people who work in that industry, they don't really see the actual reality of what health is and the scope of its mass of different things. And I think a unique perspective to that is very good. And I think both of us as a team and our broad team offers a very unique perspective from that scope.
Absolutely.
Said, none of this is medical advice.
Yeah, none of this is medical advice.
No.
Eat well and go to the gym.
Exactly.
Yes, the more knowledge they have, the better decisions they can make, though. And talking about post-show therapy, what people need to do. I mean, I think we've talked possibly about an ebook and that we can offer to our customers, and possibly maybe coming from that might be a supplement, to help these people out. The vigorous process of prep, the show, and people really need to know what they're putting themselves through and what to do post-show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, I've seen it happen to a couple of my friends where they look like a totally different person during prep, and then they ballooned above where they were beforehand. And these are things that these are natural athletes as well, and that doesn't need to happen. There are certain steps that we should be taking, that we should be helping people, because you just put your body through an incredibly stressful thing. You look amazing, but what's going on the inside is probably a different story, and there's a certain process that we should probably push to repair and prepare to do it again, because another thing is very seldom are you going to be so insulin sensitive as you are post-show, and you also need to be able to take advantage of that for nutrient partitioning so that you gain the tissue back the right way.
And also another thing, there's a big stigma in this industry, I feel like, with guys like post-show, there's a lot of emphasis on work, which is good, which is great. And that's why I love the fitness industry, because you have a lot of hardworking guys. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of guys aren't focused on recovery as much, and it's equally as not more important than the work part. And a lot of guys don't know how to recover properly, especially in the States. And a lot of coaches lack the knowledge on that, because there's just been this stigma around for the past 20, 25 years that you just need to work your ass off. And there's been so little emphasis on the recovery that you have guys literally dying because they're pushing themselves to limits that shouldn't be taken. Not that they shouldn't be taken, but they could be taken with better precautionary stuff for better post-show recovery. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that can help out with that. A lot of information.
Yeah. I mean, longevity is the name of the game.
Exactly.
I don't want to do one show. I want to win shows.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, that was it. No, that's basically where the interest of me trying to do my own research and study a bit into pharmacology and how different things affect the body and all that is just longevity wise. Because it's unfortunate we've seen it more and more recently that we have athletes passing away because they push themselves so far. So if you get into the realm of a sport like this, you need to definitely seek out the advice and the monitoring of a physician, get blood work, understand what's happening in your body, like you said. however you look on the outside, that's probably the exact opposite story on the inside. You're probably going through hell. So just that I'm just adding that tidbit in there to anybody. I mean, obviously we're going over a pre-workout right now, but we definitely have some people who are intense athletes, and they need to have the understanding that just like you can't take a full fucking scoop of pre-workout, you shouldn't be, pushing your body so hard either. You need to take precautions, like you said. So
Give yourself a break, dang it. It's not
yeah,
it's not that serious. Well, it is that serious, but you all know what I mean.
yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you guys and everything, and I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do y'all have any closing?
Not in particular. We're just going to be happy to come back here and talk again. Anything that you want us either to delve into research-wise or anything you want us to come on and talk about more, we're more than happy to. And we both have access to more academic resources. So if there's something that we can't answer or we don't know, we're not afraid to sit here and be like, well, we don't really know that, but we're more than happy to talk to someone who does. Well, I would say one trail of thought is if you go ahead and take the pre-workout, make sure you leave it all in the gym. As much as we're saying about work and recover, make sure that when you use this product, absolutely train your ass off. Exactly.
Yeah, don't waste your pain.
Don't waste it.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to, we'll go through and we'll get a structure or a timeline of what we want to go over, and we can make an impact on the industry.
Yeah, I'd love to. That's what we like to hear. Anyway, appreciate you all having us on. You all have a nice evening.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Jordan and Aaron.
Nice
All right,
meeting you as well.
Nice talking.